Hey, what's going on everyone? BouseFeenux here, and if you've been checking out my live streams lately, you'll notice that I've been playing a ton of Diablo 3. I picked it up about a week ago because for some reason, I got the itch to play it. Not to mention, they just announced a new character, the Necromancer, at BlizzCon, and he was pretty much my favorite in Diablo 2. Anyway, my only experience with this game was when it was launched about 4 years ago. I beat the story mode, which was the only thing in the game back then. I beat it with one character, shelved the game, and then I promptly forgot about it. Fast forward to now, and a couple of my friends are still playing it regularly, and I wanted to jump in and join them. But before I did, I asked the same question a lot of you have been asking me lately. Is Diablo 3 still worth buying? In my opinion, and the opinion of the majority of the game's player base, the short answer to this is yes. The game is still fairly healthy, and there's always people on to play with if that's your thing. I definitely don't think Diablo is going anywhere anytime soon, despite the salt you may see on the most recent BlizzCon reveal. So let's talk about some of the reasons why Diablo 3 is still a good game to pick up. Number 1, you don't need the time commitment you'd think you need to play it. You can play for a few minutes or a few hours depending on your schedule or how busy you are. On top of that, this game is extremely low impact if you decide to play on PC, so I wouldn't worry too much about your specs. Number 2, the real game, i.e. what you're going to be playing after you finish the story mode, if you even want to do that, revolves around seasons, much like a competitive game does. You level up and gear up a character, try to play the game at the hardest difficulty possible, and make it onto the leaderboards before the season ends. When it does end, you get to do it all over again with the next season. This might sound awful, but A, you don't lose the character you leveled up, it just goes non-seasonal after the season is over, and B, this means that there's always a clean slate ahead, so you don't have to worry too much about being massively behind the rest of the player base. Just as a side note though, you'll want to make sure you buy the Reaper of Souls expansion. There isn't really a whole lot you can do in the game without it. Number 3, the community so far has been very helpful when it comes to power leveling. The real game starts at level 70, which is max level, and getting there only takes about 20 minutes or so if you've got someone to run you through a few rifts, which are basically the game's randomized dungeons that you farm for loot and other things, and that's actually what you're seeing here in this footage. Finally, number 4, there's a new character coming soon and a bunch of new game mechanics and quality of life changes that'll refresh the game hopefully and bring back a decent chunk of the player base, so now is probably a good time to hop in and get accustomed to the game. Now, because there's always two sides to an argument, let's talk about some reasons you shouldn't play Diablo 3. Number 1, if you're a die-hard Diablo 2 player, you might be disappointed at the art direction and gameplay of Diablo 3. In some people's opinions, Diablo 3 is a lot more casual than Diablo 2, and this has kind of fragmented the player base, but let's be honest, if you played D2 a bunch, you probably don't need this advice. Still though, I thought it might be helpful to add in. Anyway, number 2, if insane, mindless grinding isn't something you enjoy in video games, then Diablo 3 is definitely not the game for you. Some people, like myself, can get lost in the grind. We like performing the same repetitive tasks over and over again to see a different result, and it's knowing that at any moment, that piece of gear you've been looking for over a week could drop and complete your gear set that keeps us going. Lastly, number 3, if you hate metas, you might want to stay away from Diablo 3 because each season, there's a very clearly defined setup for each character to make it to the top of the leaderboards. Now, don't get me wrong, you can do whatever you want, use whatever character builds and gear you want, but if you want to be competitive, you'll need the same gear and skill setup that everyone else has. Thankfully though, there's a system called transmogrification that allows you to take a piece of gear and change it to look like any other gear your class could wear, so at least everyone doesn't look the exact same. But that's about it, guys. I realize this is a lot of info to digest, and I'm sure I've missed some of the more specific questions you may have, so feel free to ask them in the comments below, and I'll try to do my best to answer them. Also, if this video wasn't enough info for you overall, Diablo 3 has a free trial where you can play the story mode up to the first boss. This doesn't really give you a sense of what it's really like to play the game, but by playing at least that much, you should be able to decide whether or not you at least like the art style and game mechanics enough to give Diablo 3 a real shot. Lastly, if you guys want, I'm considering putting together a little quick tips beginner's guide from the perspective of someone who's newer to the game that I think might be useful if you're just getting started and have no idea what's going on like I did. Anyway, if you liked this video or found it helpful, make sure to leave a like down below because it helps me out a ton here on YouTube. Also, get subscribed so that you never miss a video. Until next time though, I'm BouseFeenux, I'll see you at the next video, and as always, Thank you so much for watching.